Hello everyone, Soulsborne Fanatic here. Today I'm here to make fun of games journalist. No, but I'm here to take a look at this article that Polygon posted 3 days ago, and as you read in the title, it says Elden Ring Malenia embodies From Software's problems with women. They go on to say that From Software is sexist for designing Malenia as a broken and strong boss, and that the players are also sexist for wanting to beat Malenia because she is a woman. Not because she is a difficult and challenging boss, but because of her gender, because that somehow determines whether or not you want to beat the boss or not. You know, it's not like everyone wanted to beat Margit, or Dawn, but as soon as they want to beat Malenia, that's too far, apparently. But this article, like, I'm not even gonna try and sugarcoat it. This article is retarded, like obscenely retarded. I don't even want to read this. Like I read through this, and I just could not believe what I was reading. This has to be satire. You can't genuinely believe these things. It it is absurd to me. But I'll go through it regardless. So it starts off with talking about Malenia and the backstory of her, about Malenia being the severed goddess of Rod and all that shit. How she was the poster of Elden Ring, pretty much. She's a very hard end game counter, as many of you guys know. Completely optional. Brick wall for many players, reminiscent of other difficult encounters like Lady Maria from Bloodborne. Lady Maria was not hard, I don't know what they're talking about. There's deep humor in the idea of a woman whose very attacks steal health from you to empower herself. I don't know what they were thinking writing this, but um, uh, her presence is quietly scary. Her movements are honed and practiced. Her voice is calm and unemotional. Her face is impassive. Everything in the first phase of the fight is designed to thwart and emasculate. There's deep humor in the idea of a woman whose very attacks steal heal from you just to empower herself. And the ultimate joke, just when you think you've got knocked down, she gets back one last time. Yeah, this talks about her second phase, where she is reborn as the goddess of rats. And it goes on to talk about how Malenia exemplifies the way From Software writes women in its games. Whether bosses or NPCs you meet in the wild, these women have a shared condition. They exist in a tragically declined world, sharing a specific brokenness, disfigurement, abandonment, and loss. They are inflicted by gender, and the cure for when they are obstacles instead of mutually helpful for the player to enact subsequent violence. It is particularly a kind of idealized femininity, as fantastical as the foreboding castles and giant trees. The mere quiet void of needs, motivations, and echoed presence of dolls, mothers, and even help meets who guide their players along. So let's try and understand what they just said. So essentially, they are trying to say that no male bosses have ever been broken, unemotional, violent, and not wanting to cooperate, because that's never happened in a Souls game. And when Malenia does it, it's just too far. Um, I don't understand this point at all. It kind of sounds like they were trying to do a gotcha, but it doesn't really work. It doesn't make sense. It's just factually wrong. And that's a double standard, really. It's just makes no fucking sense. I think they're delusional. Malenia is made up of the same stuff and isn't unanimously hated. I mean, it's either I think the majority of the Souls community probably doesn't favorably like her. I don't know, but either there is passion for the giant red-haired woman in armor. Still, she is contentious character subject to social media posts, memes, and arguments. It's obvious that there is a contention for the audience antagonized by her presence as both the boss, even if she's optional to figure the game's story. It goes on to talk about how the other women archetypes are in other Souls games. You got the Firekeeper, the weird witch lady in Dark Souls 2, Ronnie the Witch, Elden Ring, and even Nico and Demon Souls. I haven't played Demon Souls. Then you got the doll and Bloodborne games are infamous for being challenging to their audience. Yeah, everyone knows this. Particular kind of player base, often men. Men play more video games than anyone else. Crazy thought. That's a target audience who takes their boss killing performance seriously. Not particularly, but sure. To some, the difficulty is the point of these experiences. Absolutely. These attitudes have long kept many away from the studio's games. Hopefully it keeps more away. But Elden Ring's popularity attracted a wider audience. Yeah, Elden Ring has definitely broadened the spectrum and became mainstream as selling 17 million copies almost. That tends to do that. The final part of the article I'm going to talk about is how they talk about how Malenia's boss fight is punishingly difficult, and the audience's hostile, competitive attitudes about it being often steeped in gender toxicity. Numerous Reddit posts, YouTube videos, and tweets talk about players' failures or successes while littered with sexist slurs. People also fell back on the usual community discourse about which methods of beating her were more valid and which ones made you a pussy. And success over her took weird, masculinized chest beating at times. These reactions are distasteful but not surprising. So, what's happening here is they're somehow got it in their brain to think that being happy or about beating a boss and it's a woman is sexist. And also at the same time, that doesn't happen for men characters. I've talked about this like 7 different times, but there's a Souls community that really loves to say you didn't really beat the boss. They try to base it on wanting to beat the boss over because of Malenia is a woman, but I don't think anyone ever said that really. Um, I don't think anyone, not a single soul in the lands between, um, decided, yeah, I'm gonna beat Elden Ring. I'm gonna beat Malenia because she's a woman. No, I think the mindset there was because she's a really hard, difficult boss that takes a certain level of practice and skill to beat. Say about Malenia being a tall, strong, difficult to fight woman who has never been beaten. Men cannot help but fantasize about being one to take her down. It seems like you are making up a fake scenario in your head. I don't think anyone thinks this. I've already said this, but this is pure delusion. When you play a Souls game, you think about wanting to beat a difficult boss because the boss is difficult, not because of some arbitrary reason, such as their gender. When you think of difficult bosses in the past, like Nameless King, fucking Nadir, maybe even Gerben from Bloodborne or Ludwig, all of these bosses, they wanted to beat them because they were difficult bosses, not because Ludwig was a horse monster, or because Nameless King really liked dragons. You know, maybe about that one, but that makes no fucking sense. And to conclude this very questionable article, they go on to this detail on how if fans missed a trailer, their first encounter with Malenia is going to influence how they feel about Malenia, seeing how you see Radon talk about the decline of the Scarlet Rot on him and how they're going to see Malenia as an aggressor. I think they're trying to say From Software is sexist for this. I don't really understand what they're trying to get at here. It's really confusing as to what they meant by this. I guess they're trying to say that this would lead to a bias towards Malenia. I don't really understand what the problem is here. But that's enough of reading this really questionable article. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Don't go and attack any of these people, any of the journalists or Polygon for this article. I do not condone such a thing. I just want to laugh at it on YouTube because they make no fucking sense. That's about it. Have a nice rest of your day.